Hey guys and girls, it's a hot summer day out here, and we're not catching a lot of fish, but I've been getting a lot of requests about how to set up a casting reel, how to set this casting reel up, and how to cast it. So I thought I'd just go run through a few things that kind of teach you how to set one up. This is one of our new Blaze Series rods. This rod and reel sells for under $100. That's a rod and reel both. The rod is the majority of that. It's a very inexpensive reel on it. Now, if you know, most of the reels that you buy nowadays, you're going to have two things that you want to set up. One is over here where you have the magnets on this side, and those magnets will go from right over to left, and this usually over here is the minimum. When you go to the right, back to the left, that's the maximum. And generally I will start with these about halfway. Now that would be minimum right there. That means the reel is wide open. The magnets are not really affecting the cast very much at all. So I wanted that if you had it on the minimum over here all the way over here to the right, like if you turn back clockwise to the right, that's going to be the minimum. So usually you want to turn it about halfway up to about 4 or 5. Most of them are 0 to 10. So you want to turn it up to about 4 or 5 to start. That's about where you want to start with your magnets. Now if you're having a little trouble backlashing, just increase this a little bit, turn it a little bit more this way, and that will increase your magnets. You see what this black deal is? That's kind of telling you, though, that increases your magnets if you go that way. So if you're having a little bit of trouble, that's one way to kind of help on your situation as far as backlashes. So that's one of the first things you want to do, is you want to set that right there. Now, the other adjustment you have is you have this tension here right here. And what this little tension knob is, it's tension on this spool. So you can see where I've got mine. I run mine wide open. You see when I push that button, that bait just flies down like that. Now, most of the time when you're setting up a reel, they will tell you to tighten this down pretty tight, so when you push the button, the line will just barely go out. You see how it's just barely going out? Most of the time they will tell you to set it like that. Now, you can set it like that, but the only thing in setting one like that is it's a little bit harder to cast, but that's a pretty good place to start. You might want to start where the line, where you you got that set, you got the tension tightened down to where your bait will just barely fall. Now, you don't want to end up there. In fact, actually, some of you might want to start with it wide open like I do, because if you start wide open, and you turn it back this way, you see that? It's wide open. Now, what that does is it makes that spool pretty loose. See, that's a little bit loose in there. That's barely moving back and forth. It just barely moving, but it's wide open. See how wide open it is? Now, with it wide open, that allows me to cast. That allows me to cast and cast very easily, and it goes out a long way. Now, in order to cast like that, you're going to need to keep constant contact of your thumb on the spool. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute here. How to cast this rod and reel easily, and learn how to do it very easily without getting very many backlashes. Now, I've got it wide open. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down just a little bit, because this is where you might want to start. Don't have it too tight. Just where it'll just barely go down. Now, if I was teaching you in person, if you were right here beside me and I was teaching you in person, I would have it more open than that. But this reel will still cast pretty good even with it like that. You know, that's a pretty long cast right there. It'll cast pretty good even with it tightened down a little bit. So there's where you want to set it up. Put this about halfway. If you're having trouble with a backlash or loose line, turn it over counterclockwise a little bit to tighten it up. And you got this here set where it's just, your line will barely go out, or you might want to go ahead and just open it up all the way. Either way is fine. Either way is fine, because the way I'm going to show you right now, it's not going to matter. And the more open your reel, the easier it is to throw it. I'm going to turn around like this. And here is the big deal on throwing this kind of rod and reel. Constant contact of your thumb on that spool. You see what I'm doing? Now, I've got that one tightened back down a little bit. So you see how slowly it goes right there? But even then, you still want to keep constant contact of your thumb on that spool. I'm feeling it throughout the entire cast. Throughout the entire cast. Not taking it off, putting it back on. Do not do that. Don't take it off, put it back on. Take it off, put it back. Don't do that. You want to still feel that turn underneath your thumb. You want to feel that line all the time. That way, if it starts to backlash, you can put your pressure on it and stop the backlash. All right, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to turn the rod and reel over where the handles are either up or down, depending on whether they're on the left side or the right side. We're going to turn it over. So you got your handles, your crank either up or down, not off to the left or right, up or down. Your line flows off better off a casting reel if it's in this position here, where it'll flow off up and down like this. All right, now you cast with your wrist. You don't cast with your arms, you cast with your wrist. You want to keep your elbow in close to your body. Now, I recommend when I teach kids how to cast a casting reel, I'll put a book or something in between their elbow and their body. So if they use their arm, the book falls out. So they got to keep their elbow in close to your body. Put your elbow in close to their body. That will force you to use your wrist. I'm not going to use my arm. Keep my elbow touching your body. You can put a book or something in here, but try to take a spinnerbait package. Anything, it doesn't matter. Pick up something, put it in between there. If you use your arm, it's going to fall out and be out of the way. So, get out of the way so it won't fall on it. So you want to keep your elbow in close to your body, because all casting, all pitching, all flipping is done with your wrist. It's not done with your arm, it's done with your wrist. So here we go, here we go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wind the bait up, and you want to wind the bait up. Don't leave out a lot of line. You want to wind your bait up basically all the way to the end. I got maybe a ½ inch or something out there, and that's about all. Don't leave out 6 inches of line or something like this. Some people will leave out a little bit of line like that and have 6 or 8 inches of line out. Don't do that. Don't do that. You want to wind the bait all the way to the end of the rod tip. I'm going to push my button. I'm going to turn with my handles up, and I'm going to make my cast. I'm going to do a two-handed cast. Way to do a two-handed cast to start out with. Most of your casts are going to be one-handed. You can do two-handed if you want to make really long ones. When you make two-handed casts, just put your hand right here. You're going to bring your rod up. I'm just going to use my wrist only. And when you throw, you want to cast out there, but you don't want to aim out there, because if you aim out there, a lot of times you throw right down into the water like that. And so, and when you do that, sometimes you can get a backlash because your bait hits the water way quicker than you want it. So where you want to aim up and not out. Now you're trying to cast out, but you want to aim up here. So I'm going to aim up here. I'm going to aim up there, and my bait goes out there. So I've got constant contact with my thumb and the spool. Up, I'm going to aim up there. My bait goes out there where I want it, and I don't have a backlash. I've kept my thumb on there. When it hits the water, I stop it. Don't let it spin anymore. Now, if you've got your reel tightened down a little bit, and like I said, if you were here right here in the boat with me, I'd open it up all the way. I'd open it up all the way and make sure that you were keeping your thumb on that. That is the critical deal, is keeping your thumb on that spool. Now, once again, you see I got it tightened down a little bit there. I'm going to open it back up right here with this tension on the side. I'm going to open it back up. Now I can make that same cast and just barely cast. And it went way, way out there, keeping my thumb on the spool. That is the most important thing, is not taking your thumb off, putting it back on. Don't do that. You want to hit some grass right there. It wasn't a fish, I don't think. It could have been a fish. But you want to keep constant contact. And your casting is all done with your wrist. You see what I'm doing right here? And if you're throwing sidearm, same situation. Come over here to throw sidearm. I'm going to throw, turn my reel. See what I'm doing right there? Where it's going like this. Sidearm's a good way to cast. Sidearm is actually a better way to throw than throwing overhanded. Overhand cast is good for really, really long throws, but for good accurate throws, you're better off throwing underhanded like that. Again, you see the same thing. I come up where the line's flowing off, up and down. That's going to solve a lot of your problems, but the main thing to solve your problems in learning how to throw a casting reel is having your thumb on the reel all of the time, Okay, I'm going to add one little thing right here that's really going to help you in your fishing if you'll learn how to do it. It's a little bit more difficult to learn how to do. Let's talk a little bit about underhand casting. This is underhand casting right here. So you're throwing underhanded. You're not throwing sidearm, you're not throwing overhanded, you're throwing underhanded. Now you don't want to start out doing this. As soon as you get a casting reel, you want to learn how to do everything. Start out just a nice, smooth, easy flow. And the main thing in using a casting reel is smooth and fluid. You don't want to do any herky-jerky actions. The herky-jerky stuff is what causes backlashes. But all right, I want to teach you how to throw underhanded real quickly right here. I'll get over here at the edge of the boat. An underhand throw, you're making an arc with the end of your rod tip. This is where you're building the power to throw. It's kind of like drawing a circle on the floor with your rod tip. But you're drawing a circle, and then you're bringing your wrist back, so you're coming around and back and then throwing it out. So I'm coming around and back and then making a nice, smooth underhand throw. And you can throw a long way underhanded if you want. But see what I'm doing here? Just a little circle. Then cast straight underhanded. A good advantage of throwing underhanded is you can be very accurate. Another advantage is you're keeping your bait low down to the water. When your bait hits the water, you've got your rod in a great hook setting position. Everything is good in underhand throwing. And that's a nice, smooth little underhand throw. But what you're trying to do is you're like almost drawing a question mark on the water. Your rod tip is coming around and back and then straight out. This is what's building the power up in the rod to throw it. That loop around and back. There's a nice little smooth underhand cast. But if you got your casting reel that you're having trouble with, if you'll set it up the way that I'm telling you right there, and if you will keep constant contact, just remember that. I think there's an internet service out now, advertising service called Constant Contact, where they send you emails. I have quite a few companies that are sending me emails through a company called Constant Contact right now. Just remember that. Now I'm going to open that up. I like that reel opened up pretty good. I had her tighten down a little bit. Now see, now I've got mine, the way I actually fish mine, I open it up. So you see it'll really get on out there. Make a nice, easy throw to get it out. So the 2 or 3 things to remember is that constant contact. The other thing is when you cast, you want that cast up and not out. Aim up here, your bait's gonna go out there where you want it. Guys and girls, if you're not using a casting reel, you need to. Casting reels and spinning reels are both tools in fishing, and if you don't use both, you're not all using all the tools that you should have in your toolbox to catch a lot of fish. Go out there and catch you a big one today, and remember, I love you.